It has been a very successful 2 weeks for Valve's newest game, Deadlock. I'm sure you've all been playing it just as much as I have, and if this is the first time you're hearing about Deadlock, it's a brand new Moba hero shooter, and don't let the word hero shooter scare you. The game is not Overwatch or Moba Rivals or even Concord. It's a MOBA, just like League of Legends or Dota 2, but modernized through a third-person shooter playstyle. Now, I won't sit here and pretend I've actually played League of Legends or Dota or any MOBA for that matter. I think I've played League for a week back in like 6th grade, and I can't remember a single detail from that, so I have no stance on MOBAs, nor do I have any actual experience from playing them. But a lot of the people playing Deadlock are people who normally don't play MOBAs. You have CSGO players, Valorant players, Overwatch players, League and Dota players too, but even people who don't play any of those games are playing Deadlock. And it's because the game is actually really fun and it's really accessible. Almost anyone can get an invite if they haven't already. Even if your friends don't have the game, you could message anyone on Steam and they probably would send you an invite. I guarantee there are already people offering beta invites in a bunch of Discord servers, so if you really wanted the game, you could get access to it. There's tons of videos about the game right now, and even streamers are starting to announce them moving to Deadlock full time. So it's starting to look like Deadlock is the new star of the show. And I recently covered the Marvel Rivals beta a while ago, and I had a lot of fun playing the game. But I'm starting to see a lot of people comparing Deadlock and Marvel Rivals, and I think Deadlock is performing a lot better than Marvel Rivals ultimately, but I also don't think that's going to ruin Marvel Rivals. It may lose some hype around it, but the game had a good beta run, and during that time it already developed a lot of fandom around the game, but we really don't know what will happen until the release of those two games. I will say, however, if I were to pick which one I had more fun with, I would say so far it's Deadlock. The game just provided a more fresh and unique experience to the hero genre we really haven't seen before. So going into Deadlock, I was one of those people playing the game like I was playing Overwatch, rushing in and making dumb and risky plays and always dying as a result. It doesn't take long to realize that that's not how Deadlock is supposed to be played. The game is PvP and PvE. 6 players on each team are separated into 4 lanes. There are 2 solo lanes and 2 duo lanes. The lanes usually hold that structure until either someone abandons their lane or the first guardian is killed. There's a zipline going through the lanes that you can use to push up the lanes faster as well, but there's always a constant struggle of pushing the lanes up. And before using the zipline, you have to have that part of the lane covered. The goal in each lane is to push back the enemy and destroy their lane guardian, pushing up and defeating the walker, and then the base guardians. After all those have been killed, you can push inside the enemy team's base and destroy both shrines at opposite ends of the room. That awakens the patron, and after bringing the health bar to 0, he enters his second phase, which you have to be all the way inside the base to deal damage to. Defeating the patron's second phase awards you the victory, but that's not the only way to win. You can also be awarded the win even if they kill your patron, if you manage to collect more gold than them. So how do you get gold? By killing these minions and objectives. And this is something that a lot of people overlook if they don't know how to play the game. Killing these guys is really important, and if you end up falling really behind on gold, it can be almost impossible to catch back up. And there's so many different things that can happen during these matches, you really never know how it's going to go. You can go from the brink of losing to pushing all the way up and defeating the enemy patron in one fell swoop. You're not even guaranteed to play the character you want. There can only be one of each character in the entire match, so the game makes you choose a minimum of 3 possible choices of different priority. After you join the game, you cannot change your first character at all unless you abandon the match or receive a penalty. Now at first I thought this was kinda lame. I wanted to be able to possibly switch between a few of my choices, but now I understand why that would be pretty bad for the game. So about 10 minutes into a match, there's a mid-boss that spawns in. You can fight it and it awards everybody on the team the rejuvenation effect, as when used and speeds up your respawn time, so instead of waiting 60 seconds, you're waiting more like 25. It's pretty useful late game, and if your team has the DPS and you get the chance, it's worth going for. Just make sure they don't steal it from you at the last second. You can also find small upgrades around the map that boost your damage or health, and there's also a soul urn that will spawn on the map throughout the match. You have to pick it up and run it to the other side of the map, but you can't use your gun or the zip lines. Once delivered, you get a 25% soul boost and ability point. The abilities are unique to each character, but you unlock ability points throughout the map, but you can use it to unlock and upgrade your abilities. And just like gold, you can get souls from killing these guys and objectives. Use your souls at the item shops around the map or at the base to purchase item upgrades. You'll be given the default build for your character, and I actually just learned yesterday that you can actually build and browse different builds in the game. I somehow always completely missed this browse builds button. but you can also select different upgrades in the weapon, vitality, and spirit sections. You have 4 slots for each of these different upgrade types. You also have 4 flex slots that you can unlock throughout the game. Now I'm not going to go in depth on what all the items do and how to make the most effective builds. There are far more experienced people already doing that, so go check those out. I'm not very well versed in making builds, but surprisingly enough, it's actually way simpler than you probably think. Once you play a couple games, I guarantee you will start to realize what is good for your playstyle and what is not. This also heavily relies on which characters you plan to main. Since your characters can be directly affected in different ways based on your upgrades, you can find some great community builds built around specific characters. So I had some mixed impressions on the characters in the game. Some I feel are pretty awesome, like Seven, Dynamo, Ivy, Bebop, and Abram, and some I feel are lacking or just kinda suck. Melon Krill, Viscous, Shiv, and Lash. Now, I'm not going after the characters themselves, I just personally wasn't a fan of their abilities or their guns. And don't take this as me attacking your main or anything, I just didn't like playing as these characters. Now, any character I didn't mention, they're all fine. I didn't have anything against them, but I probably won't play them a ton. I've already figured out who I'll spend most of my time playing, so I don't have any reason to try them out unless I get burnt out. Which is also something I want to talk about because in my previous video about Spectre Divide, which is a completely different and unrelated game, but in that game, I was experiencing super quick burnout, and for me with Deadlock, that just hasn't been the case so far. The games can go in any kind of way, and there's just so many different heroes to play and try out different builds. You can even combo characters like the one everybody's talking about, picking up Seven as Ivy and flying him around while he ults. Literally everybody knows about that one now, it's like the first big OP character combination we found, and I can only imagine what else is possible. And I highly recommend playing with friends because there is a layer of strategy in this game, and communication is really important to winning lanes and winning the game. If you're playing with a bunch of randoms, you're almost doomed to lose if the other team is coordinating against you. Speaking of communication, the text system is pretty cool. I like how it shows up under the characters and not on an ugly bar on the side. It's a small thing, but really shows the love that Valve puts into their games. Well, that's about all I have for today's video. I've had a ton of fun playing and learning Deadlock, and I guarantee I will still be playing this game in the future, which isn't something I can say for a lot of games I've played recently. But I have another banger game coming up soon called Grim Dawn, so if you're looking forward to that, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and I'll catch you all in the next video. Peace out.